We are live. This is Kicking It with Jason. I have Meres-Sia on today. Meres-Sia is a wonderful person, one of the people I get the privilege to train in fitness. She's a best-selling author. She has a course, life-changing writing, right? That's the name of it.
Life-changing writing in 5 weeks.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about that too, and how you came about that, your journey with it so far, and
Mhm.
like the experience your students have had, and I got to sit in live on one of their readings, and it was
Right.
really good. Yeah, it was really good. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, how you been? How you been? How's the morning going?
Well, I've been off 2 weeks from training with you to work with
Yeah,
my daughter who has rheumatoid arthritis. And
yeah.
tomorrow I come back with you. So I'm looking forward to that. I have more
Me
energy now
too. Nice,
because we
nice,
found a
nice.
pathway for her. So that's what I've been up to is I also read tarot. So like I was using the tarot cards to help between me and her brainstorming and to help her find the right pathway of what to choose next to get on the road of healing. So yeah.
Good, good. Yeah, I know that's tough because no parents wants to see their kids hurting and things like
Oh,
that. So I know it's weighing down on you,
whew.
but yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk about let's get into right into your writing course. How did that come about? So
Yeah.
yeah, let's break that down.
Okay. So it actually, I was an educator, a classroom educator for 16 years. And
Uh-huh.
I always wanted to write, but I thought that I had to do something to make a living. I had 2 kids, this and that and the other. I needed like money right now. And so I went into teaching. But then
Yeah.
halfway through my teaching career, I wrote my book, my first book. And I had hired a life coach. And in the course of working with this life coach, I decided, I got the courage to write the book. He wasn't a
Uh-huh.
writing coach, but he was a life coach. And so
Yeah.
then I wrote, it wasn't the book I thought I was going to write, but it was a perfect book. And everybody who reads it really is impacted by it. And so as I got continued with as an educator and got more and more discouraged in that field, I just was like, I need to do something. And I came across Danielle Leslie's course, actually, where she teaches you how to turn your expertise into an online course. And
Yeah.
so I took her course to do that. And I was like, I'm going to teach people how to write their book because people always, so the options were I'm strong at French because I was a French teacher. So should I do an online course in French
Uh-huh.
or should I do an online course in writing because I am a trained Amherst Writers and Artists creative writing workshop teacher. But I don't so I had to choose between those two. And I chose to teach the writing and I'm glad I went in that direction. And the reason I chose it is because so many people who would find out that I've written and they would look at the book and they'd be amazed. And I see the sparkle in their eye and they want to ask me so many questions and then they don't. I was like, why
What?
aren't they asking me? I want to share my process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think they didn't ask questions? Do you ever wonder about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it could be because people see writing and especially writing a book as so huge. And
Yeah.
they also, I think, attach a certain mis I don't know if it's mysticism or mystery to it. There's something mysterious about it, right? And
Yeah.
maybe they don't know the questions to ask. Maybe they feel like, well, if she's done it and I haven't done it, she knows something I don't know, and I don't want to feel dumb asking her. Or
Yeah.
maybe they don't know where to begin. I'm like, it could be all of those things. Like, I don't want to look stupid asking a dumb question, or I don't even know what question to ask. I don't know where to begin, or quiet as it's kept, we're all human, and sometimes people feel competitive. Like, oh, she
Yeah.
wrote it, well, I'm gonna write my book, and it's all those different things that
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been interacting with people.
Have you noticed that? Well, maybe before you started your course, you probably knew this already, but have you noticed like there's a lot of people that want to learn how to write? Like there's just a huge group of people. Did you already know that, or have you been more open to seeing that now?
Yeah, no, it's in doing the course that I realized that out of all of those options that scenarios that I just gave you, probably the biggest one that I've come across is just not understanding, like not having access to their self-expression and feeling
Yeah.
bad about
Uh,
So feeling bad about that and not wanting to be vulnerable or know how to even express that I feel bad because I feel blocked. And does that
mm,
mean that I can't write? I want to
mm,
write, but maybe I can't write. And I
yeah.
don't understand how to get through that part. And so my course actually tackles that part.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
huge. And then, I mean, even in that itself, people are gonna learn so much about themselves and build so much
Yeah.
confidence. That's like even with fitness, like that's the same kind of different, field, but people face that in fitness, like not being themselves, not feeling confident with themselves, and then something about exercise helps them find that new part about them where they can go out in life and live different and be more
Yeah.
free. So that's interesting in writing how that does that. So that's amazing. That is amazing.
And I see a lot of similarities even in our approach, yours and mine, being a
Yeah,
client of yours and how
yeah,
you're so focused on like, I'll come to you and be like, oh, I think I lost this much weight this week, or I felt like I fit my clothes differently. You're like, okay. But the biggest part is, do you love yourself, right?
yeah,
You don't say that, but I
yeah,
know that's what you promote, like
yeah,
self-love, self-acceptance. And actually with my writing course, in its own way, we write, definitely. We write just like with you. We work out.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
we're both teaching people how to do it sustainably, right?
yeah,
And if you have that self-love and self-acceptance, then no matter what comes your way, what block comes, you'll be
yeah,
able to persevere through it. Or even if you have to put it to the side, you'll be able to come back to it. You'll have that muscle and that skill, as you like to talk about, the skill to come
yeah,
back to it and to work through it. Because I I wrote my book when I was a single mother of 2 children, working a
yeah.
very, very stressful job. And
Man,
my
yeah,
whole thing is, or mantra or thing is, like I did it, you can do it, but not like I did it, you could do it. Let me watch and see,
yeah,
but like
yeah, yeah,
I did it and I'm going to show you how I probably experienced every block you could experience. And I'm going to
yeah.
help you get through those same blocks compassionately and in a way that sustains you so you can have a writing life, a lifetime of writing.
That's amazing. And I like
Yeah.
what you said, sustainable in a sustainable way,
Mm-hmm.
because everything in our society, everything's like quick fix,
Mm-hmm.
microwave, want things fast, but it's about not today. It's like 90 days from now, 6 months
Right.
from now, a year, 2 years from now. How can we pick up the habits that can make it, an everyday thing? And so, when you do that in writing, I do that with fitness. Like just like I'm pumped when people lose weight, or when like they got new dress size down, and like they're getting results. But I really love if they understand what it took, the hard work it took, how to
Mm-hmm.
repeat it, keep it going, and just keeping
Yes.
it really simple is important. Like because the
Yes.
numbers change all day, like results change all the time. If you get too addicted to the results, you forget about the process itself, and
Ooh,
just
I
having
like
fun.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Get to,
So
get to the results.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, you gotta have the number, the results to keep, to keep
Yeah.
tabs and data. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's really like that process. Every day, are you gonna wake up and enjoy it? Like, every day, are you gonna wake up and enjoy that writing? Every day, are you gonna wake up and enjoy
Mm.
that walk?
Yes.
That weightlifting session, stuff like that. Yeah. Oops,
Yes.
knock my phone off.
Enjoy it. That's exactly it. Is I help people learn to enjoy writing, enjoy the
Yeah, yeah,
process, even enjoy the so-called blocks, even
yeah.
enjoy.
Because it's a
Yeah.
part of it. Yeah, it's a
Right.
part of it. Every
It's
day
a
is not
part
gonna
of
be
it.
like, yeah. Even in fitness, like I just did a episode on how to stay motivated with working out, and like I was just completely honest. Like, you're not gonna feel motivated every day to work out. You're not gonna feel motivated every day to even write, I'm sure. But it's like figuring out what works for you to get the motivation going again, right? And
Mhm,
like
mhm.
that's another part of it. That's another element to writing or working out. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Tell me about your first book. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, I forgot now, so I'll tell you about my book.
Yeah. Tell me, I know
So,
you mentioned it. What was your first book
yeah,
about?
I wrote it 10 years ago and I self-published it. I sent it to a printing press and then
Uh-huh.
I was performing. So I'll tell you some of the places where you can still see some of my performances, but I was
Please.
performing, and wherever I would speak or perform, I would, sell all the copies of the book that I had brought with me.
Nice.
But once I started teaching my course, I was like, people need to be able to just get my book because I'm not performing as much before anyway. So I'm gonna put it on Amazon, and then I hired a coach. See, I'm big on hiring I hire coaches, and so I see nothing wrong with people hiring me as a coach.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like,
Yeah,
coaches
anytime
are
you want to get
so
to the next
beneficial.
level, a coach is like indispensable. I feel really.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I was coached all my life in karate, fitness from age
Right.
8. It's
Yep.
just like I wouldn't be where I am today without having somebody with me every day, helping me get my reps in, correcting me, pushing me. Yeah, so it's
Exactly. And so I hired a coach to help me. I was like, well, if I'm going to go through the effort of putting it on Amazon, I might as well make it a bestseller or figure
Mhm.
out how that works, because every like, how there's the New York Times and there's there's the different lists, right? They all have
Yeah.
their different criteria. And
Yeah.
so we don't know the criteria. It's like a secret. But
Uh-huh.
I hired a coach who knew the criteria, who knew the pathway for Amazon. And it's still legitimate, but you just have to know
Yeah.
what it is, do the work,
Yeah.
and so then he showed me how to do that. And so I did that. And so I got as bestseller.
Nice.
So that book, to tell you about that book. That book, let's see, I wrote it 10 years ago. And what's interesting is I'll look at it sometimes and I'll still get motivated by it. Like I
That's
still
awesome.
read stuff in there and be like, wow. There's some stuff that I'm like, I wrote that like that. I critique it and I'm like, oh, I would write it with a different
Differently,
feel.
yeah.
But other people have read it for the first time.
And it's timeless still, huh?
Yeah. And they're like, oh, it's just fluid. It flows. It's beautiful. The prose is as poetic as the poetry, because it's poetry and prose. So there's narrative essays or stories, and then there's poems. And
That's awesome.
It's a small book, but it tells a complete story. And it's a mixed genre memoir, kind of a coming of age. And it goes through my experience as a female child with my mother and my grandmother, and then me as a woman, and then me as a mother of female children. So it kind of takes that journey. But men have found as much benefit and pleasure in reading it as women. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I love reading poetry. I like writing poetry. I'm a good writer naturally too. And just I have a goal to get a poem book out. I wrote a leadership book a couple of years ago.
What?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, self-published book. Yeah.
What? You have copies?
I forgot how long ago. Yeah, I do. I haven't looked at it in a while, but yeah, I got it. It's called Wake Up and Smell the Glory. It's a cool title.
Oh, I want to see it next time when I come over.
Yeah, I'll have to show you. But that's amazing. Like I love poetry writing, the small essay narrative stuff. That's really cool, because that's kind of like what I like to do too.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I won't have to tell people. It's called I Twirl in the Smoke.
I Twirl in the Smoke. Nice.
You can find it on Amazon. It's on
What
Kindle.
made you come up with that title? That's a powerful title. How'd you come up with that?
Oh, I would love to know why it's powerful for you. And how I came up with it was one of the poems was I Twirl in the Smoke, and then another poem was Still Twirling. And what I had the image of twirling in the smoke to even begin writing the poem. I had this image because I was in high school. The teacher had invited this young lady, this Haitian lady who was like a UC Berkeley student. He'd invited her to come speak to our class about the Haitian Revolution, Haitian culture, and this and the other. And she and I became friends, and she became like a mentor and like a big sister to me. Yeah. And so I think it was a year that we got to, interact and stay friends and build this friendship. And one time I came to her house. Now, mind you, this is probably like 91, 92. And I had came to her house and she was twirling with a smudge stick, a sage stick. So it had all this smoke and she was just twirling around and she had this music going and all this smoke was in the house. And it was so magical. Like everybody's talking about sage and smudge and all this stuff now. But I grew up in that bohemian life. Like I grew up with all that living in communes, living in, vegetarian and all that stuff. And so she was twirling and twirling. And I was like, what, and then she was like, oh, I'm cleansing the space because, and she talked about some reading she'd gotten and she was the incarnation of her mother in some previous life. And she was trying to clear some previous life stuff. I never understood it. I didn't get it, but I thought it was so beautiful. Just that image was so beautiful. And her energy was so amazing. Her name was Nadine. Her energy was so amazing. And so I think I somehow that image was a part of also this book. And now that I'm speaking to you about it, because the book has to deal with like wounds, childhood wounds, specifically with my mom, it makes sense now because she was talking about wounds with her mom and twirling in the smoke. So that's deep. But but ultimately twirling in the smoke is about like I say, when life gives you smoke, the most beautiful thing you can do is twirl in it. So that's what it's about, transformation and alchemy.
Right. That's what I get from it. Yeah, that's what I was. Okay. Yeah, like, and it kind of reminded me of Tupac and his a rose growing out of a concrete. It kind of reminded me of that.
Similar concept.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like you take bad times and you try to make the most optimistic things out of it. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's the sense I got from it. Yeah, so let's talk about your writing course. How long have you been doing that now? What's it been like? The few classes you had, and what's it been like?
So I taught the first course in 2019. That was the maiden voyage, and it was wonderful. There were only like 4 clients at that time.
Yeah.
It was really intimate, and I advertised it as something that would just be really intimate. But those clients were so supportive, and they were like, you can double this easily, double your price easily with exactly what you just gave us. Yeah. And so when your clients start telling you need to increase your price, and they were just like one of them, she was like, I have been trying to write a book for 10 years on this particular topic, and I never could. She would get prompts, if you get free prompts online, you get all these little free things. She would try and try.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't work. And she was just amazed that she had started actually legitimately writing this book. And everyone she shared it with was amazed that she had written so much in such a short time. That's another thing. You write a lot in my course in a short time. It just pours out of you.
Yeah.
And another client, he was like, this course, I mean, you can't, it helped him access his self-expression. And he was like, there's nothing more valuable. He said that even, because, I do an intake call before clients come in the course to see if their goals match what I offer. And he said that his life started changing from that call. Like he could just feel the energy. So that was the first time. And then some stuff. I have 2 daughters. So one of the daughters started developing some mental health issues. I had to stop that and I had to focus. And I actually went back into the classroom, which I hated. It just was miserable. Like the classroom was done with me. I was still trying to use it, but the classroom was done with me. I was burning bridges left and right. Like I was like, first of all, my age, my supervisors were starting to be younger than me. It was already bad to have supervisors who are older than you that don't know what they're doing, or you just don't believe in their vision. But now to have people younger than me that don't believe in their vision and they don't know what they're doing, I was like, I can't stomach it. Call it pride. Yeah. If you were my supervisor, Jason, that'd be different. But
No,
these
I
are
hear you. I hear you. I had some bad supervisors in some jobs. It was like they put the word supervisor and leadership. It's not the same thing.
uh,
It's really not.
it's
It's
not the
two
same.
though.
And you'd be surprised at the idiots that are running schools, the idiots.
Yeah, yeah,
But I mean, I'm sure there are some great people, but I was
yeah,
running idiots. So I was like, I can't do it. Um, so let's see. Then I got a nice gig, actually, a nice teaching gig, but it was temporary. Like they eliminated my position afterwards. And
uh,
look what it was. So I'm an author, right? I'm an
yeah,
author. I'm a trained creative uh, writing workshop teacher. Um, I've performed at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. I'm in a permanent exhibit at the Oakland Museum's Black Power exhibit. I'm one of
yeah,
the featured poets there. I've given workshops at MOAD. This school had hired me to be a reading interventionist and to teach English as a second language. So not only do I have 16 years in the classroom, not only do I have all of the things that I just shared with you, so I have, and my master's degree is in foreign language acquisition. It's in French.
yeah,
So I was basically built for this position.
yeah,
I mean, they eliminated the position and
yeah.
they offer me nothing else. But that's fine. Those things happen because it's to push you somewhere else,
True,
right?
true,
Place you
true, true.
somewhere. But I still look at it like, okay, y'all
Well,
gonna be
yeah, let's talk about that because when you picked teaching, was it because you knew you wanted to teach, like you wanted
right.
to share?
Yeah.
That's what you wanted to do, and then
So
you figured working out of school was going to be the closest way.
you're so smart. You're so smart, right? Because with my course, I am still teaching, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
because
Growing up, I just thought that you know you're trained like, oh, okay, classroom, that's where you teach, and so much has
yeah,
changed from when we're not the same age. So when I was younger, I'm 46. So when I
yeah,
had my kids, we didn't have all this online stuff the way it is
exactly,
now.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, that's gonna bring that up. But that's what I like about the generation today is the internet can allow you to be a teacher if you're documenting, you're sharing your truths, your
Yeah,
experience. I mean, that's exactly what you're doing. That's what I do with fitness, my podcast, everything.
yeah,
And I think like the old way of teaching is not what it is now. Like anybody can be a teacher as long as
right,
you're expressing what you truly love, you're doing what you love, you're going to be teaching anyway. And
right.
that like that's what I always like to preach to my friends. And I'm just like I have a friend. I mean, I'm not encouraging her. Like I don't. You know how I am about college. Like you can go or not go. Either way, it's gonna be fine. And
Yeah,
but I have a friend like she wants to be a professor at a college and things like that. I'm like, that's cool, but I'm like, you can start teaching now, honestly. Like you can
mhm,
get on the phone and record yourself and just be passionate about whatever topic you like
yeah,
and do the research and get behind it and just put it on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all these different places
yeah,
and you're teaching. You know, you're already doing it. You don't have to wait
yeah,
for, that institute or a college to say now you're a teacher, you know?
yes. Self
Yeah.
anointing. This is the era of self anointing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true,
Yep.
and that's kind of what I teach too when I teach my course because I don't teach publishing. I'm just focusing on the writing. However, we talk about publishing a little bit, and people want to know, well, should I publish with a publishing house or should I self-publish this, that, and the other? And I share what limited information I have about
Yeah.
the both of those, right?
Yeah.
And I share that the reason I self-published when I started is because I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to wait for somebody to anoint me. I had a
Right.
story. I wanted to tell it the
Yeah.
way I wanted to tell it, and I wanted to get it
Yeah.
out right now.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Instead of like waiting on them to back you up, it's like, nah, just take action and go do it now. Yeah. I like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm big on making content and everything because you don't need permission from somebody. You give yourself that own permission. That's
Yes. Give
you really
yourself that permission.
yeah, yeah. Let's talk about like what's been one of the most recent 'cause I know you do a 5-week course. So at the end of the 5 weeks, like what's been like like a takeaway that you always see after those 5 weeks?
Oh,
Like what's
wow.
something?
And I'm actually thinking of extending it now to make it like an 8-week course so that we
Oh,
can
nice.
do a little bit of publishing, work
Oh,
on a
that's
little
cool.
bit of publishing. But you said what's the takeaway that I've seen? I mean,
Yeah,
each time people are so amazed at how much they write. They're amazed at what they're writing.
yeah,
They're amazed that they've shared it with strangers because we set up a author reading.
yeah.
So everybody invites people they know, which is going to be a stranger to somebody else, who's lit, somebody else. Your people are going to be my strangers to me. And
Yeah,
so they're reading in front of, strangers, and they have a community because after the 5 weeks, we can I
the big
continue
one.
to
Yeah,
hold like a bi-monthly meetings for people to come to, you
that's really
know,
cool.
and utilize it how they want to. So
Yeah.
some people come for emotional support. Some people it's just, yeah, I'm having a hard time writing, and then another member will throw in some idea. They just help we just help each other with resources. And then we have
You do
our
those on you do the meetings on Zoom, and everybody just
yeah,
logs in.
yeah, I
Oh,
have
that's
a
cool.
ongoing meetings. Yeah. And then we have our Facebook group where we share resources, and based on those resources, a couple of people have entered contests and competitions and
Oh,
have
that's cool.
submitted work,
So
yeah.
everybody's staying in touch, pretty much just every day of how they
They'll
want to
have
stay in
that
touch.
option to stay in touch
Yeah,
that way if they
that's
want.
cool.
And
That's really
another
cool.
thing is people are also obviously free to continue to work with the cohort that they are working with, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like you come in with a group for 5 weeks, and you amazingly interesting. I don't know how it works, but that these strangers tend to be a perfect fit with each other,
Hmm.
and a lot of times they don't want to stop working with each other. So there
Yeah.
is one group that I was working with, and they made their own group on the side to
Oh, that's cool.
keep each other going. And
That's cool.
what makes it life changing too, is that you meet these strangers who work perfectly with you, and if you want to continue to work with them in that way, you can. Yeah,
Yeah. So a lot of collaborations and stuff can come out of it. That's amazing.
yeah,
That's amazing. Yeah. That's and the community part is big because I think it's important to build your business. It's important to do what the course is supposed to do, but that to go beyond that is amazing. Like to take the
yeah,
extra step, the community part. That's why I
yeah.
like doing. Like why I have that text group. You're on the text group. You know how I text
I
you guys
love that
throughout the
text
week.
group.
Yeah, yeah. It's just a way so I can stay in touch and I don't have to be just the trainer. I don't like just being the guy who just teaching you how to squat. Like I like to just check in and say hello, send funny stuff, and it keeps people engaged. And some people I haven't seen in months, but they're on that text list, and I still get to keep that relationship and that communication. I think that's important.
Oh, yeah, that is.
Yeah, 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 yep. You did live in France, right?
I
Uh,
did.
what was that experience like, and like how did that culture and everything help you be the person you are today? Like I think that's
Woo.
amazing.
And it did shape me, and it continues to shape me
Yeah,
because I had my first daughter there. So
yeah,
her father is from the French Antilles, which is he's
yeah,
from Martinique.
yeah.
So
And you
she was a
speak
whole.
fluent French,
I
so
speak
that's
fluent
pretty cool.
French.
That was
Her
something I
whole
learned that was
father's
really
side of
cool.
the family only speaks French and Creole. Nobody speaks
Wow.
English.
Yeah.
So yeah, it had a major impact on me. I
Hmm.
started learning French in middle school because when I was younger, that was when you could take a second language in middle school. It seems like they're trying to eliminate that in a lot of
Yeah.
schools. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we had the option between Spanish and French. And my grandmother, I don't know why, she picked up languages. I actually am really spiritually her child. So
Mm.
she would pick up she would say little things to me in Spanish all the time. And so I wanted to learn Spanish, but the Spanish class was impacted. It was way too many students. So they
Oh,
said,
really?
yeah. But I
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, I need to learn another language. I don't care what it is.
Wait, so your grandma could pick up? She picked up Spanish really well.
She didn't
Your
speak
grandma?
it fluently, but there were certain words that she had picked up, and she would say them
Uh.
to me. She would,
Uh.
so, and then
Do you feel you have a natural talent to pick up language? Do you feel like if you wanted to learn something else, you could pick it up too, if you really wanted to?
Yeah, if I really took, and it, so that's an interesting question. So I do pick up, like, when I always meet people, I ask them how to greet in their language. So I could probably greet you in, like, I don't know, maybe 8 languages.
That's
But
cool. Yeah,
I
yeah,
know that when I was at Howard, I went to Howard for undergrad, and
yeah, yeah,
how come I'm not learning a second and third? Because there was Arabic, Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, Russian. I was like, let me
yeah,
pick up another language, and I tried to do Spanish, and I tried to do Arabic, but
mm,
it is weird. Sometimes in different stages of our development, our
yeah,
mind functions differently, and
yeah.
my mind was just like overstimulated with being at Howard, being with so many things. And for some reason, I could not concentrate on a second language.
Yeah,
And it could also be that because I was still trying to master French, and Spanish was too close, but yet too different. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
couldn't, yeah, I just couldn't master it. But there are other people who can go in and they'll take 3 or 4 languages at the same time. If I was to
Wow.
take it now, the way my mind functions now, I'd be able to do it. But at that
Uh,
time, it was too much. Yeah.
that makes sense.
But,
That makes sense. Yeah.
yeah.
So growing up, yeah, go back to France. So you said it helped you shape. Yeah,
Yeah, so I wanted to say, like, I started in middle school, and the lady who used to braid my hair, I
uh
told
huh.
her I was taking French, and she was like, "Oh, that's so good you taking French, because so much of our history is still in French. So much of our West African history is still written in French. It hasn't been translated. This
Yeah,
is great. You'll have access to primary sources." And I was like, that gave me motivation. Now I had a
right.
bigger reason to continue to study French, as if I was going to ever study those primary sources or resource. I don't know, but I just felt like, okay, I'm doing it for a
Yeah.
cause, right?
Yeah.
And then, and and this goes back to how when you have a bigger why for doing something, it keeps you it keeps you committed even in face of a lot of obstacles. Because in high school, I changed high schools 4 times, and during that time, there were 2 years where I didn't take French, where I couldn't do French, but I still majored in it in college.
Mm,
And then in majoring in it, but it took a while because I majored in anthropology actually at first. And I had a boyfriend, and he was like, do what you love, and the rest will follow, kind of thing. And I was like,
yeah.
well, I'm strong in French. Why not just major in that? And I majored in that. And that just took I got a scholarship to study in France for a summer. I
Wow.
started getting all A's. So I got a
Yeah.
scholarship. Howard had a trustee scholarship. So I got
Yeah.
a scholarship for my last year at Howard. I didn't have to pay tuition, and
Yeah.
all of this stuff started to happen. But when I went and did
That's
that
cool.
study abroad, that's where I met the man who would become my daughter's father,
Yeah.
and he became my best friend at the
Yeah.
time. I mean, we're still very close. There's some things that keep us separated, but we're still very
Yeah.
spiritually close.
Got it.
Um,
Got it. Yeah.
so I would, therefore, it changed my life because I would meet the person who would become the father of my first child, and I would have my first child. So I then
Yeah.
made plans and came back by going through Middlebury College had a graduate program. So you
Yeah.
do a summer in Middlebury, Vermont, and then you do a year in the country of your language, which mine was France. And
Yeah.
so then I lived there. I had my daughter there. So I went through all of that there. I majored in Francophone literature and culture of Africa and the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, I was hanging out with Julia Wright, which is Richard Wright's daughter. Richard Wright wrote Native Son and Black Boy, and Native Son became a movie. So
Mm.
yeah, I was hanging. I met. I have a best friend there who's godmother to my daughter. Like, yeah, it impact.
Amazing.
I went to Martinique because of the family connections, and
Yeah.
learned
That's
a lot
amazing.
about the culture and different. Actually, learned a lot about because I am so linguistically inclined. I learned about
Yeah.
other languages or that are extinct in Martinique,
Wow.
and certain cultural ways of speaking that tie back to the Arawak and the Carib Indians, but that still are in the language, and they don't necessarily know that it ties back to that, the way that they're speaking the word. Yeah. So I learned a lot. I love it. I learned a lot.
Wow. Why'd you choose Howard? Why'd you choose Howard
Oh
to
my
go to college?
God. When I was growing up, the Cosby Show was on.
Yeah.
And he was repping black colleges, and then the World Black College. So before the Cosby Show, I was gonna go to UC Berkeley. I knew I was gonna go to college, and we would drive growing up in East Oakland, but my grandmother had recently graduated from UC Berkeley when I was little. And so we would, drive around. We would drive past UC Berkeley, and I saw a girl who looked like me, and I was like, that's what I want to look like when I get older, and that's what I want to do, So it was going to be UC Berkeley until Cosby came out. When Cosby came out, I was like, whoa, it's all the way. And then I had a friend whose father worked at Howard. He was the dean of the law school, actually. And so she set up a little tour. We did a little college tour. We went to Spelman, we went to Howard, we went to Hampton, and we even went to New York just to see some colleges there. But we knew we were going to go to Howard. So once I saw Howard, I was like, that's it. I'm going to Howard. That's it. I only applied to Howard. I didn't apply nowhere else.
Oh, wow.
I took my SATs. I got the lowest score you could get on the SAT. I'm not a standardized test taker. I don't do good. And I don't do good with study programs to prepare me for those.
Yeah.
So, so at that time, Howard was sensitive to the fact that Black kids don't always perform well on standardized tests due to the cultural bias.
Right.
So they allowed you to come in with the minimum score, and I just made the minimum score.
Man, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if things have changed, but at that time and for a long time, it was like that. So I just got in with the minimum score. I didn't apply nowhere else because once I get my mindset, just like graduate school, I was like, this is where I'm going to graduate school. I didn't apply nowhere else. Somebody asked me, well, what if you don't get in there? I was like, what if you shut up? Like, why would you even ask me that?
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, yeah, you made it and excelled in everything. That's really cool. So going to Howard, did you feel like that got you closer to African American history, Black roots, everything?
God. The beauty of Howard is that every course I took, they tied it back to Black people. So there are white, non-Black professors at Howard. So I had like white English teacher freshman year. I had one white anthropology teacher, and I had an Afghani English teacher. And even with those teachers, they tied it back to the Black experience.
Oh, that's amazing.
The movie Malcolm X came out while I was at Howard. Spike Lee's Malcolm X. My English teacher from Afghanistan, Mr. Shahabizad, something like this. He was so fun and sweet. And he was like, oh, when I go home, they're asking me, who is this X guy? Who is this? He was so big. He's Muslim, so they're like, who is this? And he said, and tell them he was a great, great man. So you know, it was just wonderful to have those. Even when I tried to learn Arabic, I had a Arabic, I think he was from Saudi Arabia, the teacher.
Yeah.
But people who come there tend to have a passion for Black culture, no matter what their ethnic background. They tend to. You're gonna have some who are there just for, you don't know why they're there. You're like, why are you even here? Why you don't like it? And some of them are Black.
Wow.
But
prestige, name, clout of going to Howard, stuff like that. Yeah.
But like even one of the classes that really had that impact on me to make me know, that really drove it home to me, like the advantage and beauty of being at a Black college. I took Intro to Latin American Studies, and I think the teacher was white. I don't think he was even Latino. I think he was a white.
Yeah.
But we looked at like all of South America. So Brazil has a the most black people outside of Africa, they say. Okay, so that was easy to tie black people to Brazil. But
Yeah.
he went through every single country and showed
Wow.
us where the black people were and what their contributions are, how long they've been there for as far as he could tell, and
Yeah.
what their life is like.
That's
And
what I loved when I took African American studies in college too. I love that seeing like
yeah.
stuff you never seen. They don't put it in high school or TV. Like you'll never
Yeah.
see it.
Like
You'll never.
up until then, I didn't know that there were black people in all of those countries. You know,
Yeah.
Argentina,
And they
Peru.
travel. Like they act like we never traveled. You know, like
They act like we never
Africans had ships,
traveled.
man. Yeah. We
Exactly.
had ships. Yeah.
They act like we never travel, and they act like everywhere that we are is because of slavery, and it's not.
Right.
It's because of, like
Exactly.
you said, we were voyagers. That
Yeah. Yeah.
we settled in places. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That was amazing when I found that out. I didn't find that out till I was like 18. You know, even
Yeah.
younger, 17, almost 18 when I started college. So I was like, wow, they never taught us this.
Yeah.
So yeah, and also like I know your parents, your dad, both your mom and dad, Black Panther Party.
Both of my parents were Black Panther Party members. My father is the former minister of culture at Black Panther Party, so he's Emory Douglas, and then my mother was also in the party, and that's how they met. And
Yeah,
I'm a party
yeah.
baby, party child, party girl. They call us
So,
Cubs. They call the kids Cubs.
oh really?
Yeah.
Wow. So being a child of the Black Panther former members, um, I mean, what is that like? Like, what do they try to instill? You know, like important African American or Black
Yeah.
culture? Like, what was like something your parents will always do
Yeah, that's
growing
fascinating. So growing up, my father was actually pretty quiet about it. I
up?
started, I didn't even know that he had a title, that he what he did until I was like till I was at Howard, and I had done that
Wow.
summer at France
Yeah.
in France. And
Yeah.
my friend and I, the TV came on, and she was like, "Is that your dad?" Because he looks like me. And then his name came, and I was like, "That's not dad." So we're watching this documentary in France. Now, mind you, I see my dad every day in America, right? At the
Yeah. Yeah.
time, like we weren't estranged or anything. But so
Yeah.
then I saw the documentary, and then it said he was the former minister of culture, and I was like, "What? I did not know all of
Wow.
this about him." So that's how I learned, is by watching documentaries. And then once his career as an artist picked up again, when
Yeah.
an artist helped him, Rizzoli Press made a book, and then he was invited to do all these exhibits, and I started going to then I started learning more about him and his role. Growing up,
Yeah.
though, my mother had a different experience, and
Mhm.
so but she would share with me, like, for example, let's say we go watch a movie, and the movie is an all white cast, but then the soundtrack is all Black music. So she
Mm.
pointed that out to me, like, they're always using our music to tell their stories.
Mm.
Like, so she would help me to think critically in terms of those kind of things,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
also was like, don't ever join an organization. But she didn't tell me why, So
Mm.
there were conflicting things going on with her about her experience,
Yeah.
and she would down. But I would have to say, you'll be so surprised. My grandmother, my mother's mother,
Huh.
really gave me, I want to say, like, my first education in sociology and understanding society. And she supported the Panthers.
Yeah.
She didn't like the fact that I was in collective daycare. So every opportunity she got, she would come pick me up so that I could
Yeah.
have that one-on-one time. And I'm so grateful to her for
Yeah.
that.
Those are priceless. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Reminds me of
But
the times I had. Yeah, with my grandma. Yeah. I understand.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But so she halted some of the damage. but
No.
but one of the things is I grew up in she lived in deep East Oakland. We moved around like 12 times in my childhood with my
Yeah.
mother. But my anchor was East Oakland, 79th and Lockwood, where my grandmother lived. And
Uh-huh.
at a very young age, she told me, I was still like I was in elementary school for sure, but still maybe like 6 years old, 7
Yeah.
years old. She was
Yeah.
like, "You live in the ghetto." And she
Yeah.
was like, "But this wasn't always the ghetto. White people
Right.
used to live here, but then when
Right.
Black people moved here, they left. So she taught me about white flight in that moment. She
Mm.
also taught me about redlining. She
Yeah.
also taught me about she said, but Black people aren't the only ones who live in ghettos. Jews used to live in ghettos. So she
Yeah.
taught me like this isn't all that this understand where you are, but then understand that this isn't
How it was, always
how
was.
it has to always be. This isn't
Yeah.
what it always was. And quiet as it's kept, she didn't even make a judgment like if it's good or bad. She was like, this is what it is. Cause
That's interesting. Yeah.
she had she she had bought her house, paid her house. So I don't know if you know East Oakland, you had little bungalow style houses, little
Uh-huh.
two
Yeah.
bedroom, little small.
Yeah.
But she had
Yeah.
paid off. She had went to UC Berkeley and finished her degree when at 50 or 60 years old. She finally paid off her house in her 50s or 60s, and she had raised her kids as a single parent. She was still working part-time, feeding seniors, even though she was a senior herself. She was feeding seniors, and
Yeah.
she was, the family matriarch. She took care of everybody, babysat, did hair, made clothes, all of that.
Yeah.
She liked to drink wine, and she liked a certain kind of wine, and she ate her baguettes, and we ate good meals. So when she said, "This is the ghetto, we live in the ghetto," it didn't translate to me like it wasn't like a good times ghetto. It didn't translate to me like this is awful. I knew like the ghetto is bad. To live in the ghetto is supposed to be bad. But her example kind of contradicted what the media taught me about the ghetto.
Mm.
Not only her example, but we were kind of in a working class neighborhood. Everybody in that neighborhood worked. A lot of
Right.
elderly, older people, and it was still an era where people still kind of looked out for each other. So if I
Wow.
came home by myself and some little boys were sniffing behind me, Mr. Williams down the street would fuss at them boys, leave her alone, because they wasn't from our neighborhood, so leave her alone, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so my grandmother was actually, and she would tell me, those boys standing on the corner over there, they wouldn't be standing on the corner if the party was still around, because they'd have
Right.
something to do. They'd be selling
Right.
newspapers, or they'd be. So she, in that moment, that's a very powerful moment, because Black men and boys are always typecast and stereotyped as standing on corners, selling drugs, not having nothing
Yeah.
to do, this, that, and the other. And she was like, in this moment, she had compassion for those boys. She's like, there's a reason they're standing there. And
Yeah.
if the social organizations that we had created were still
Yeah.
in existence, they wouldn't be there. But those social
Man,
organizations
that's
that we
deep.
created to take care of ourselves were
That's deep.
systematically destroyed, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like the Ku Klux Klan still exists, but the
Yeah.
Black Party don't exist.
That's
Tulsa,
deep.
Oklahoma don't exist. If they want
That's
to get
deep.
rid of the Ku Klux Klan, the government can, right?
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
won't. But they
Yeah.
will get rid of anything that's counter that.
Yeah. And like, man, the way this is like a 3-hour conversation alone.
We're gonna do a part
The way,
two.
yeah, like how ghettos came about, and the setup, and how drugs violence was poured into there. It's crazy. It's sad. And I think about that a lot. I think I would even think about that every day. Is like, how so many people my age, Black men like me, younger, you know, are messing up in prison, didn't make it to my age. A part of it because, like they just don't know how things have been set up against them. They don't even know. Like how you said, like they don't even know what the ghettos was before them, how it came about. They just wake up into this environment, and now they're just living a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I think I even told you, like my real dad, my birth dad, because I told you my great auntie, my great uncle, they really raised me, but I call him mom and dad. But my birth dad, I think he got murdered in Richmond, on the streets. I think he was only like 22 or something like that.
Oh,
And I,
wow.
man, I think about that a lot. I'm like, like how much different could his life had been, if he did something different this way, or if this opportunity was there, or if he knew his history. Like I think about this all the time. And I'm just like why, like thank goodness I got to be who I am because of the grace of God, my mom, everything. Like I think about that a lot, and that's deep stuff. That's really deep.
It is.
Yeah. So
Something you said it made me think about. I forgot.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that's one thing I wish more people knew. Like, 'cause I have so many roots in Richmond. Like, I wish more Richmond men just really knew their roots. Because they really don't. Like, all they know is like is what they know, the hood, and you
Yeah.
know, like it's sad.
Oh, I
It's
know what
hard.
it was. My mother used to told me that also, like when she was growing up, West Oakland was more the downtown area, and like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and so musicians would come to town. That was kind of like the beauty of segregation in a way. And even though
right,
that wasn't
right.
like a legal segregation, but the redlining is a creates a segregation, and
Yeah, yeah,
knowing where
yeah.
you was
It's
comfortable,
all
and the
planned.
fact that the Oakland police was recruiting members from the Klan or
Yeah,
from the South, even
yep,
though things aren't officially a certain way, you're safer in this part of town
yeah,
with these people, right?
yeah, yeah,
So, yeah, and then so you got to your heroes, the musicians, the politicians, the celebrities, whatever, would come to town, and you would have more access to them than we do now, right?
right, right.
Now they're like, I don't know, they belong to everyone, but at that time you get your money by belonging to everyone, but you also got your money, your love, and your support by belonging to your people. And
Yeah,
it was still you'd have, and then I, as a child, could have something to aspire to because I have a little bit more access to that.
uh-huh.
Even if it's a friend of a friend, or even if it's just seeing, somebody walking down the street who plays in James Brown band. I might, you know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah,
they
yeah,
have to come to this part of town when they're in town in order to get
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. You can have that what's it called? Like a closer connection.
That culture
Um,
connection. Yeah.
yeah. And I think like that even brings back to the internet. And the internet is like if people really understood it and you know leveraged it, they like there's people that I look up to now who are using the internet in that way to get closer to people. And I love it. I'm
Yeah.
like, you can do this in so many ways with social media, like how we're doing right now, streaming.
Mhm.
It's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right, let's go into fitness, and then
Okay.
we can wrap up the episode. But this is
And
good stuff.
this is
Really
live.
good.
You're gonna save it, right? It gets saved to.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Oh, okay.
automatically saved. Yep. But yeah, so what? So I know we started training 3 months ago, 4 months ago.
I
It's
don't think
been
it was 4. I'll feel bad if it's 4.
three. I want to say
Maybe 3, because
three,
like
three, three. Yeah, yeah,
I know I
yeah,
did like 1 month of 3 times a week. I was trying to do this month of 3 times a week, but then I had the issue, so I haven't completed this yet. But
yeah,
before that, how I did it 2 times a week with you? A month of
yeah. Here, yeah. Let
yeah.
me brag about you. I'm gonna brag about you. So yeah, we started.
Aw.
We started twice a week, and I remember your first session. It was a hot day. It was hot, and I remember we were going super slow. It was super paced. I didn't even give you a lot of exercises. Just like, let me just see how she moves. Um, you know, basic stuff. I don't want her to sweat, get too overwhelmed, too discouraged, and then fast forward. Now you're like lifting with a barbell on your shoulders. You're going deep into your squats. You're doing all different kind of exercises. You're kickboxing. So like I give you big props because I remember when you texted me, you're like, I'm so ready to get started. And I was like, oh yeah, let's do this. Let's go. And I just knew we had to take it one day at a time. We still got to take it one day at a time. But then we're doing floor exercises now. Like I would never put you on the floor. Like now you're on the floor, you're getting up and down. Like that is amazing. And that one of the biggest things I love you told me was like how you said like you were dancing, you haven't danced like you were just dancing in your kitchen or something. You haven't moved like that in years. Yeah, right. And just being able to move better, that is like I'm so proud of you that you took
Oh,
that you said it. It's not me who's like, yo, let's get moving. It was you who said I need to do something, and then you chose me. Like I'm so grateful for that because there's plenty of trainers out there. There's plenty of ways to
mm,
exercise, but the fact that you chose me is I'm honored. So I'm just super proud of you for that. And then so we went from twice a week to 3 times a week, picking it up. And then you even did your own thing where you go walking that was my big thing with you. Was just like, just walk. Like, don't even worry about, doing a crazy exercise at home, because that's not necessary. Like, you're already meeting with me. Like, just do something simple. Just move. Just walk. That's cool. And you did it. You took accountability, and of course, you have life challenges. You have things that come up, and that's normal. That's normal for everybody. But the fact, like, you're twirling in the smoke, right, as you say. So yeah, you you twirl in the smoke, and yeah, you've been doing a great job. So I'm super proud of you. But yeah, talk about your, like, how has that been for your fitness journey, and why'd you get back into it? Because you used to do capoeira too. I gotta say that you used to do capoeira. You have a great form and technique, and I see it. Like, 'cause you used to tell me how you used to box and everything. I see. I don't have to correct you much on form, and that's like, it's just like, yeah, I love that. So yeah, go ahead.
So how did I get back? What was the original question?
Yeah. So how'd you get back into the fitness journey, and what's it been like?
I was I met you when you worked at the Y, and I had the Y because my youngest daughter I thought it would be a good bonding experience for us. But you were so nice, when you helped me with the personal training. You were so nice. And then I remember texting you and asking you, I was trying to figure out how to maximize my time at the Y. And I was like, maybe I'll pay for some private sessions. And I texted you, like, I'm gonna pay for these private sessions. Can you be the trainer? And you're like, I'm not there anymore. I, have my own thing. But then you still gave me advice on how to use the Y. And I said, that's character. That's character. You can just leave it at that, like, oh, she's gonna have to figure it out now. And I just was like really impressed with that.
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
And so
I'm big on that, Meres-Sia, like, just helping. Don't worry about getting something back in return. If you're giving, you're giving. That's like my thing. It's just like, I don't need. I mean, the money is good. Money is good. It's resourceful, but like, if some people are too money driven, and they think everything they have to say has to come with the dollar. I'm like, that's not how it works. Just help. Just give. From the heart. So thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when the shelter in place stuff happened and all the gyms were closed, and I never did follow up with the Y, and the gyms were all closed. And then I remembered that you were doing the private session. So I reached out to you again. And then I was like, okay, well, let me try it. So that's when I was like, let me try it, 1 day or 2 days a week when we first did it. And I loved the pacing. I loved your approach, your philosophy, I felt safe with you. Remember I said, like, I started wearing like tank tops because I never, so like, I've been full figured for about 20 years. Before that, growing up, I wasn't full figured. So it came with parenting and then stress of being a single parent and all of that, right? So I never still got used to my arms being the size that they are. Yeah. And I'll always cover it. But I was like, I felt so safe with you that eventually I was like, let me practice body acceptance with someone I feel safe with. And I've had personal trainers before and I didn't feel safe with them to do that. So I started wearing a tank top or something that showed off more of my arm. And I just love that nurturing. You're very nurturing. You're very like you said, you tailor it to each person and what they're working on and what their goals are. And I still dream of one day going back to capoeira. And I was trying to do capoeira before, and I was injuring myself, and I wasn't able to get into all the positions I want. So I vacillate between, how people are like body acceptance, but then, like sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, I'm cute, chubby, but then I'm like, but I want to do capoeira. That's the thing. And it's actually getting, I do need to tone some things up, and I need to do so that I can do the things that I want to do. Now, if I didn't want to do capoeira, maybe I could have a different relationship with this staying the way that I am or whatever. I don't know. But So
it's big. Because everybody has a different reason why they want to get fit. Some people like to do it just for stress relief. Some people do it because they want a big butt. Like yours is super interesting. You're just like, I wanna get back to capoeira. And I'm like, well, yeah, I love that. Like here's what we got to do. We got to get back on the floor. We just have to. We got to figure out how to get that going. Yeah.
It's so hard, and I really love exercises that you come up with. Oh, I always
Yeah.
be teasing you about how you always come up with something that doesn't feel like I'm exercising. And
Yeah. Yeah.
after the first
Yeah.
step, I'm
Disguise
like,
it.
whew, right?
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah. Yeah.
miss the next time, and I'll be like, you ain't never satisfied, Jason.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you get that feeling because I don't like when fitness is boring. I don't like when it's dreadful. It's got to be hard work. There's no way around that. But I don't like if it's boring. I don't like if it's mundane. I don't like if it's super predictable all the time. And
Yeah.
even as myself, like as a trainer, I don't want to be bored. I don't want to keep doing the same thing. I want to have fun too. So that's what I want you to walk away from. Everybody when I train them is like, yo, I had fun. I learned something new. We did some of the same things, but I got better in those same things. Like all these different things
It's like
is
a
what I put
candy
into.
store because it's always something new, a different treat.
Yeah. That's cool. That is super cool. Man, I'm so proud of you, Meres-Sia, and I'm glad you were able to get on today on the podcast. We're gonna have to do another part 2, 3, 4, 5 because you have so much to share, so much good stuff and wisdom and knowledge, and you're doing a lot that people can learn from.
I really appreciate this. Thank you for having me on. If people want to reach me to learn about my course, because I will be setting up another session in 2021. I'm on Instagram as Life Changing Writing. That's LIFECHANGING writing. My email is also lifechangingwriting@gmail. I haven't set up the website yet. So Instagram at Life Changing Writing. My email is lifechangingwriting@gmail. Facebook as Meres-Sia Gabriel. Yeah, hit me up. Oh, go ahead.
Is your book on Amazon too?
Oh yeah, my book is on Amazon. You can also find me that way too. Connect with me that way because I have an author's page. My book, I Threw It in the Smoke, or you look up my name. Yeah. So
amazing.
Touch with me if you have any inclination, you feel inclined in any way to write, or you're curious about it. I tell people all the time when they set up the calls with me, sometimes people try to back out later, like, well, I'm not sure this and the other. I'm like, look, I really love having the call. I'm like you, Jason. Like, I love having the call, and you are going to benefit from this free call that we're going to have. And I don't care if you accept it or don't accept it. I love the exchange of the communication.
Exactly. That's huge. Huge. Anything you want to part with? Anything on your mind, heart that you want to?
I assume if anybody's watching this, they already know about you and who you are. But I'm like, if y'all thinking about fitness, that's
I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much.
Thanks, about writing, I'm your girl.
Exactly. Thanks, Meres-Sia. I really appreciate that. And anybody that is definitely looking to write, they should check you out for sure. Because I was on a live call. Where you did. Yeah. Yes, man. They did great, and you could feel the confidence and like they were excited to read. You could feel it. Like they were like, I want to be on the mic sharing what I did.
And they were good, job. Right?
Yeah, they're good.
And they did not start off with that confidence.
That's crazy. Yeah, I would not have known.
Right. Day one, they were like stumbling over words. They weren't sure what to, and then we just pull it out. And then in 5 weeks, amazing.
That's amazing. Well, thank you, Meres-Sia. We'll talk soon. I'm seeing you tomorrow. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. All right, Meres-Sia. Bye.